following podcast is recorded and produced by the Podcast Precinct in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com. The Podcast Precinct. Consistency, creativity, culture.
The Nostalgia Funhouse proudly dedicates all episodes in the loving memory of Connie Chirac. So, Johnny, I've been hearing really great things about this Nostalgia Funhouse. It just brings back so many great memories.
Andrew, the only reason I'm moving in line with you here is that you really vouched for this show. So I'm just going to believe you that this is the show that I've been wanting, which is just talking about all the fun stuff from our yesteryear and the years before. And I really hate anything meta, so I'm glad that what we're doing right now is not that.
Oh, no, definitely. What is meta? Isn't that Ron Artest's new name?
Well, add world and peace to it, sure.
Yeah, but this is great. They, last year they were tearing play sets and Halloween costumes.
Well, that sounds cool.
They get these weird court recordings from pop culture courts.
Does anybody care about court cases?
These ones are kind of cool. They put Scott Kelvin on trial. Poor old Santa Claus there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, man. You know what's the best part about this is, though? Is I hear they always got a really great sponsor. You can check it out right there.
I got it! Wow!
Here it is, the USS Flag aircraft carrier. Imagine being on the deck of this aircraft carrier.
The USS Flag is fantastic! It's so big! Forward back, little monsters! Get ready to launch aircraft! Where's the Admiral? Not here! G.I. Joe! Fire! He's got Cobra! Joe!
USS Flag aircraft carrier comes with what you see here. Other figures and equipment sold separately.
Joe!
What's that in the sky? It's Cobra. Cobra. That's right. Welcome to the Nostalgia Funhouse. I'm Johnny. He's Andrew.
Yes.
And we got one heck of a review for you today as we watched, and we're going to review I think it's 87, right? The 1987 G.I. Joe, the movie, the animated one. Man, first, let's just kick it off the bat. That opening theme to that is chef's kiss. That theme by itself was a 10 out of 10, and I'm not even making that up. That thing I've listened to it 10 times. I'm not even kidding. It just pumps you up. It's so good.
You know what? I would normally put in the trailers for when I the movie review. I'm just gonna put in that opening thing. I'm not even gonna put in the trailer for the Facebook post picture or anything. It's just gonna be the trailer, or not the trailer. It's gonna be the intro.
Yeah, it's so good. I gotta say, we've been very lucky in the things we reviewed so far that have had really great themes to them.
Yes,
and the original G.I. Joe theme is a classic, but this just takes that and turns it on its head, and just makes some incredible. I would legit just play this with any playlist I have because it's just so fun and good and amazing.
And to see them defend the Statue of Liberty, why would you want to blow up the Statue of Liberty kind of anyways? In a way? There's other things, but just seeing that's got to be.
I know why. It's Cobra.
Cobra. It's got to be the most how do you say it, America type thing in the world.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, as I'm watching this and I'm getting into it, the little kid that lives down the hall, aka my son, if you're new to the show, he was like, "Is this why you joined the Marines?" And I'm starting to think did G.I. Joe brainwash me in some way? Because I love G.I. Joe. It is my favorite toy line of all time. I love the cartoon. I mean, G.I. Joe is great. I stopped kind of collecting Transformers. Got into Ninja Turtles, but G.I. Joe seemed to always be there, no matter what.
Yeah, I definitely liked G.I. Joe as a kid, and I would watch it. But as soon as I discovered Ninja Turtles and Transformers and Real Ghostbusters, then there was no more G.I. Joe for me. But I definitely have very fond memories of it. I mean, who can forget as a kid just those at the end of every episode? It always had a very special message at the end of G.I. Joe's. And of course, being a big wrestling fan, as soon as they added Sergeant Slaughter, I'm on board. But this movie, Andrew, is one that came up recently from our villains versus heroes tournament
Yes.
because you added this guy into the tournament of the villains, and I did not know who that was off the first look.
It was Nemesis Enforcer. And we actually got a comment uh from somebody, which is awesome. Didn't totally agree with us, but I'm fine with that.
No, you don't have to agree with us. That's all right.
He was very polite, very kind. So therefore, you can disagree with us all day long. But pretty much said that Megatron should have lost in the first round. Now, my memory doesn't serve me properly because
I don't remember who he fought. I'm
yeah,
not even gonna
very
lie.
sorry for that. Chris K here. And he said, but this is great for me, bad for you. But he said, but I also believe Nemesis Enforcer would have beaten a Raptor easily.
Not so dumb. He couldn't even beat Sergeant Slaughter.
So Johnny, just not getting into too much. After watching this movie, do you change your mind on Nemesis Enforcer beating a Raptor?
Do you want to just answer this now? I can answer this now, or we can wait till the end.
We can wait until the end because there's some other
Okay.
things that I want to bring into the lore of Nemesis Enforcer.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
America's #1 superhero team explodes on the home video screen in their very first major motion picture blockbuster, G.I. Joe, the movie. Premiering exclusively on home video, this brand new multi-million-dollar film extravaganza is a masterpiece in mind-blowing animation techniques that make this feature unlike any G.I. Joe you've ever seen.
Go, go, go! It's destroy everything except the broadcast energy transmitter! This I command!
Along with all the regular G.I. Joe superhero favorites, this high-gloss spectacle introduces a whole new cast of kinetic characters that are sure to be a hit with kids across the country.
You have nothing to fear but Falcon himself.
Miami Vice Super Cop Don Johnson stars as the voice of Lieutenant Falcon, the playboy whose shenanigans land him in the slaughterhouse.
I've been expecting you.
Ruled by who else but that patriot of pain, the incredibly awesome Sergeant Slaughter.
You're going to war till you wish you were dead.
Then it's off to Cobra Land, where the terrifying Globalist, brilliantly voiced by Burgess Meredith, reveals his plan to destroy the minds of every human on Earth.
This pitiful planet will be ours.
Now, right in their own homes, kids everywhere can see if G.I. Joe can still save the day in this high-budget, high-voltage film showcase of their all-time favorite superheroes.
And this is for the U.S. Army!
Fasten your seatbelt for the supercharged motion picture debut of G.I. Joe, the movie.
Now, I told you that for this hour-and-a-half movie, out of all the things that we've reviewed, and I've taken notes on a lot of stuff, I could just grab how many notes I have for this thing.
I don't have too many because
I have to scroll. I have to numerous scrolls on my notes app on my phone for this thing.
Also, the kid from down the hall, because he watched it. He gave me his score as well. So at the end,
I'm very curious about that for sure.
And we got to rate this out of Yo Joe's.
Oh, of course, yeah. By the way, that's my favorite part in this whole thing is the over dramatic Yo Joes.
The Yo Joes. I love it how they try to give Cobra a battle cry other than just Cobra, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna move it into Cobra." La, 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 la.
Yeah, my favorite part though is Yo Joe.
We'll get into that too, because
he's in a coma.
Because this is a movie, but this came out as a mini series first on TV,
which makes sense to me.
And then they did a direct to video because of Transformers the movie and My Little Pony the movie.
Yeah,
did not do so well in the box office.
I also remember Care Bears the movie.
Yes,
kind of came around this time.
Hasbro, that one was huge. That's probably Number three. I give that number three. If I had to pick toy line movies, oh no, that's number four. No, that's the Power Sword, the He-Man and She-Ra Power Sword. That gets me.
Yeah.
And then Rainbow Bright one, that was a damn good one too. I haven't seen that in years, but that was a damn good one. Shout out to Rainbow Bright. We got to talk about Rainbow Bright at some point. Big Rainbow Bright. Well, I didn't have like the dolls or anything, but I watched me some Rainbow Bright.
Yeah. But point is, you love this movie. Yeah.
I do. This is definitely number two behind Transformers, the movie. I don't think this movie's as great as Transformers the movie. Kind of a little bit of a sneak preview in there, but I do say this is great. I own this on Blu-ray. This was a much buy as I became an adult because this is something that I would see in the video section and be like, I want to rent this because where before Blockbuster in the Niagara Falls area, we had a sweet video store called Video Factory. And the more videos you rented, they give you Video Factory dollars that you could trade.
Oh, yeah.
So my dad would save up the Video Factory dollars, and I would be able to go into the lovely, for some reason, now that I'm thinking back, it was kind of like a cage, but it was supposed to be like a room. Go into the kids section, and he's like, hey, just rent whatever you want, which is like mind blowing. So I go back there and I got to, rent like G.I. Joe the movie. That's how I got hooked on kind of a little bit of the 1960s Batman because that movie was back there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a big part of my childhood right here in the G.I. Joe the movie.
I definitely remember it, but I think I've only seen it as a kid and I haven't seen it in 2+ decades easily.
Also, some heavy hitters here as well because
yes,
we got Don Johnson at the height of Don Johnson fame in 1987 as Lieutenant Falcon. Johnny has, I'm pretty sure, some notes on that as well.
I do. Very strong notes on Falcon, but we'll get to that.
And I did not realize this until a couple of years ago, but Burgess Meredith plays Globius, which
yes,
awesome.
That
Love
rules.
me some Burgess Meredith.
Yeah, that rules. And the third build guy, you can't forget him.
Who's that? Oh,
Sergeant Slaughter. Yeah,
that's a given. You mentioned Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, but you got to mention him again. That's Sergeant freaking Slaughter.
You could put me in the Cobra Clutch.
He will.
I never understood that. His move is called the Cobra Clutch, and he's G.I. Joe. Is it because he's clutching Cobra?
Yeah, he puts Cobras in the Cobra Clutch.
Okay, I know he probably had the move way before like G.I. Joe even came.
Yeah, still it's very cool.
Sergeant Slaughter, who's not really a sergeant, but still cool. But so this one is a little different. You got to say from normal G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe at this point is just strictly military. G.I. Joe, as you know from the song, is a covert, missions operation force, whatever how they say it.
Yeah.
To go up against Cobra, and then in this one, it kind of turns into a little bit more science fiction in a way.
Yeah, I have notes on that later on too, because I have some questions. I told you I do have questions in these as well, because I would assume you're way more into the lore of this than I am, and I'm very curious about some stuff. But you want to just kind of give the overall gist of the movie, and then we'll dive into it.
Yeah, because in the beginning, Panthona, I'm gonna spoil it. It's a person from Cobra La. We'll get into that point too. Comes to visit the new Cobra Emperor Serpentor, who is a genetically created Frankenstein-like creature from the greatest evil leaders of all time that is kids worthy that you could put on there. I think like Napoleon, he's got some Napoleon in him. He's got like Genghis Khan. I forgot who else. He doesn't got anybody else crazy if you're younger and you never watched the creation of Serpentor.
Yeah.
Kind of created behind Cobra Commander's back. But this is where they find out that this idea of Serpentor was planted into Dr. Mindbender, great name for a doctor. An evil doctor.
I was about to say, yes.
into Dr. Mindbender's head to create Serpentor to help lead Cobra. And they find out they need this new machine called the Broadcast Energy Transmitter, or as I just call it around my house, BET.
Yeah.
To help out the cobras that have been hiding in the Himalayas for over thousands of years because man took over and the ice age happened. And the cobras in Cobra La use more organic technology than us meddling barbarian humans, as they called it, where we use mechanical technology. And this is where we find about Cobra Commander, who is not always a human, because you always wondered underneath that hood and that shiny mirror mask, who is underneath there, and find out that he is a member of Cobra Law and he was sent out to destroy the humans. So that's pretty much, they need to get this to open up spores that are going to be shot up into space. They need the broadcast energy generator to open up the spores in space so they rain down and then turn all humans back into kind of like Neanderthals in a way.
Yeah, real quick, because I don't have this in my notes. Cobra Commander, though, he does say, after we'll get into what happens to him, his exact words was, "I was a human." He literally says he was a human, though. Like that's his quote.
Yeah, I guess they were like humanoid type people because he got into an experiment.
Yeah, but I mean, he literally says that. But I mean, we'll get to that. That's why I was confused by that too. That's not the only thing I get confused about in this movie.
Yeah, that is confusing because that's just where when they get into Cobra Law, you meet well, Nemesis Enforcer, who
Yeah.
has a great entrance is in there, and then Globulus as well, who's like this weird snake like thing that kind of floats around in a glob.
Yeah,
It makes sense. Half man, half snake that floats around in a glob.
a lot of snakes in Cobra, which it makes sense.
Yes. And they're because I don't know why G.I. Joe gets a little crazy because I even looked at this is because they have to attack them for the good old bet there, broadcast energy transmitter. And instead of just letting Cobra retreat, Duke's like, hey, we have Serpentor here. This team, we're going to take Serpentor back to the base. You guys go follow Cobra and just end this for once and for all, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
Stupid move, right?
yeah. And that's when they get caught up in Cobra Law and Nemesis Enforcer.
Yeah, I always as soon as I heard Cobra la 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 la,
Yeah.
I immediately thought, did The Rock have it? Is this where The Rock was influenced here from this movie?
Well, they stole it from, can you guess? Shangri-La.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Well, my first at the beginning of this basically opens up with everybody's favorite commander, Cobra Commander,
Yes.
pretty much getting mutinied.
Yeah. I was kind of happy. I'm not a Cobra Commander fan. I'm not gonna lie.
But he's a really famous bad guy in pop culture. Very famous bad guy.
Do you know who my favorite Cobra leader is?
Who's that?
I was always a big Destro guy.
I mean, he looks cool. Yeah. But I mean, everybody knows Cobra Commander. He's a big deal. This is the same of like if Megatron got mutinied. This would be on that level to me.
Yeah.
But what's funny is they mutiny him with just truth and facts. They hit him with like
that he's a
truth after truth. Yes.
It's kind of like
he's really bad at his job.
Kind of like like I know adults write children's cartoons, but it's like if a parent was like, hey, I'm going to speak the logic to you about how terrible Cobra Commander is. And that's what they did. Like, we know he's terrible. He always loses, never wins. He has terrible plans for everything. He's gained nothing.
Yeah, but also in fairness, in children's animation, like, I mean, you can literally chop it up to any of the bad guys. Like Megatron lost all the time. Shredder lost all the time. But what I'm saying is all their things they say about him in a negative way are all true. You can't deny these things. But that's what's her name when she shows up? You said her name. I can't remember her name.
Pythona.
Yeah, she shows up and she's just throwing these squishy crabs at people to knock them out.
Because it's like an organic weapon.
No, I get it, yeah. But they look like a squishy crab. I'm just kind of describe it to people. Squishy crab knocking, and she gets into this base fairly easily. But it's a really cool action sequence, though.
There is a lot of great action sequences.
Yes, I'd agree there. But one of the notes I had is one of the things I try to notice is when a show does like a special movie version of itself, if it's animated, like do they step up the animation for the movie?
Not
This is about the same, but it makes sense to me that you said it was way more for like a made for TV thing.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they were like, we screwed up big time on G.I. Joe and My Little Pony. We're not doing this again.
Yeah, so that made sense to me. But what's really funny is as she's attacking, getting to this base, like, hey, we got to go stop this intruder because they don't know who she is yet. And they all just start listening to Cobra Commander again when they literally just spent 10 minutes destroying any credibility he had.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden he's giving orders again and they're following him around, like doing what he
probably
says.
because he's still like second in command in a way, because Serpentor got captured in the Himalayas.
But this is before that, right?
No, they're still leading to Serpentor. Oh, they're listening to, yeah, they are listening to him. But I think it was because he was trying to keep Serpentor safe.
The point is,
I
if
get
you're a leader and they've just had you just had all your credibility stripped from you, how do you still be the leader right after that? I don't care what's happening. Like why? Like literally, these people who have just
maybe the trial wasn't done all the way.
well, we know it's not because he gets put on trial technically again later on.
Gee, I forgot him. He does get put on trial. This is like the persecution of Cobra Commander.
It is. This movie, if you just want to quote unquote dumb it down, it's a Cobra Commander / Falcon movie.
Yes,
This is just of it.
Mistake redemption.
Yeah, but one of my notes here though is this first 10 minutes of this movie is amazing. It's really fun action. Obviously, the theme song we talked about this, but it's an action packed first 10 minutes because almost as suddenly as you figure out who this lady is, they're attacking GI Joe, right? Mm-hmm. And one of my notes here is I'm going to read my note verbatim. I'd hate my name to be Snow Job, though I bet it's enjoyable.
Robot Chicken does the best with that. It's a go job for Snow Job. You might want to rethink that. Have you ever seen that one? They do a whole thing on Snow Job where they're like, okay, Joe's, there's a problem in the Amazon jungle. And Snow Job's like, we're on it, Duke. And they're like, I don't think you should go, Snow Job. He's like, why? He's like, because your blinding white uniform is gonna stand out in the jungle. Yeah. Look up Robot Chicken. Well, yeah, okay, you can probably do it because put Robot Chicken, then Snow Job. Not Snow Job, Robot Chicken.
I'll look up whichever way I want to.
Well, there was a time where I wasn't thinking. I looked up hot young actors.
And that's how I learned. That's how I should look it up too. So you're helping me out. But then after this whole action thing, this is where we're kind of was Falcon a part of the show before this?
No. So you're gonna take that back about Snow Job.
I like Snow Job. I'm not. What a sentence.
I just looked who the voice actor was for Snow Job.
Who's the voice actor?
Rob Paulson.
Okay, that rules. Yeah.
Go job for Snow Job now.
Snow Job rules. I'm all for Snow Job. Give me all the Snow Job. If you notice, I didn't say I hated Snow Job. I just said what a name to have as Snow Job. But yeah, I was very curious about. I have a lot of notes about Falcon. So this is the first time. Is this the first time we actually meet Falcon?
Yeah, because this is kind of like they were doing with Transformers, where they're like, "Hey,
trying to do another leader type guy
with the old new, and with the new, like, hey, we're gonna introduce these guys, and you're gonna try and like them."
Yeah. Well, it's kind of revealed later on that he's half brothers with Duke, right?
Yeah, I guess in one of the original scripts, he was supposed to be General Hawk's son, which would make a little bit
sense for his name. Yeah.
But then they were like, you know what, we'll go with the half brother thing. Not even full brothers. They're like half brothers.
Yeah.
Two different.
But you meet him and he's taking this blonde lady on a date, and you discover who she is later. But he thinks it's just a date, and he's doing a thing that you see in a lot of these movies where he's showing all these things that a civilian should never see because he's trying to impress his date. And that's when Duke walks in on it and he starts giving him the riot act. And Falcon starts saying some stuff. And my first note here is, am I wrong? Falcon is obviously way in the wrong here, right?
He is, but he is ranked higher. Because I don't know what Duke's rank is. But I figure once you go to G.I. Joe, rank gets thrown out unless you're like General Hawk.
Yeah, but everybody, if you just say who's the leader of G.I. Joe,
it's a Duke.
Yeah,
Duke
exactly.
General Hawk. Flint's behind Duke, as far as I understand.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why Wild Bill was on the court-martial court. I know you got to be an officer to fly, but that was the first time I ever noticed Wild Bill up there.
And well, he's barely in this, poor Wild Bill. But
boy inspired Frank Welker.
Yeah.
There's about the 3 new Joes, or the more of the new Joes.
Oh, I was getting into that. Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to get into that. Yeah. But my point was Falcon was obviously waiting wrong on this in this argument, and him trying to quote unquote justify it, where he was just saying, "Hey, you need to." Basically, he was telling Duke to chill out. It's basically what he was doing. When Duke's like, this is literally where we just capture like one of the biggest terrorists that in the G.I. Joe world is here at this facility, and you're just showing this girl around like it's nothing. But this is also when you kind of introduced to some new characters, right? Yes. What's the lady's name? She's kind of a ninja. Well, she is a ninja. I don't know why I said kind of.
She's Jinx.
Jinx, and which is really funny. That's her name because she hates being called that. Oddly enough, but
then
I have a quote of hers later on that I can't wait to run by you because I rewound it 3 times to make sure that's what she said. But
next one is the MP, Law, and his dog, Order.
Makes sense. Love it. And that dog's great, by the way.
How did you feel about I'm going to ask you about this last one left. Then you got an EOD specialist in Tunnel Rat, an undercover officer in Chuckles, and then the last one, former basketball player, Big Lob.
They really, later on, he's kind of the hero of this whole movie, though. He's sort of he doesn't sacrifice himself, but it definitely reminded me of that scene in Independence Day where wasn't that Randy Quaid? I think it's who it is.
Yeah.
Who flies his ship up into the UFO to blow it up. That's kind of what he does here, really. But yeah, he lays on the basketball stuff. And he's the only G.I. Joe who's just he's just dressed like a basketball player.
Even who was it? They did have a football player later on called Captain Gridiron, and he was dressed like a regular Joe. The only thing that was different was on his like helmet. He had like a football face mask. But like they went crazy with Big Lob here.
Yeah. Yeah, they wanted to make sure you knew he was a basketball player. Yeah. So you meet these people. Jinx to me is obviously the standout of these.
Mm-hmm.
I immediately liked her. I thought she was pretty great.
Well, because there's only 2 female G.I. Joes at this point also.
Yeah. Yeah. But she's pretty great. Here's some Falcon notes I have for you though. Andrew, you can clean it up. You can clean this up. But what was the first note I sent to you in our text message about Falcon?
That he is, and I quote, a piece of shit.
Yes. All right. He is awful. Falcon is just truly awful. He's a walking sexual harassment nightmare, is what this guy is.
Yeah. Falcon is definitely, to date this, is to put it definitely, Falcon is that guy in the 80s. And to get Don Johnson, I'm not saying Don Johnson's like a womanizer, but Don Johnson was like a pretty good choice to play Falcon in this.
Yeah, that's no knock on him, but this character, like when he's talking to Jinx and it's sort of establishing that they've had, like they're kind of into each other, despite the fact that he just brought a blonde on the base.
Yeah, he's for anything.
Yeah, but he, like how he says hey to her is he kind of gives her a little tap on the behind, basically. And I just started laughing at like how this just would not happen today.
Can I say my heart goes out to Beachhead for having to train these recruits?
I just wish Snow Job and Beachhead would like just get together and have one heck of a team.
Be beat job. But my heart goes out to him because these guys are not doing what Beachhead is trying to teach them to do. They're just kind of doing their own thing. I mean, they're getting the job done.
Yeah.
Paul Rat takes the shortcut on the obstacle course. Big Lob, does beat it as well. Law uses order. Oh my goodness, I never thought I'd say something like that. Law uses his dog order to find the bomb, and then he thinks he's playing fetch with the bomb. Jinx uses her own special way to beat Beachhead in the
Which is to blindfold herself. Yeah.
So I feel for you, Beachhead. You're just trying to train them in the Joe way, and they're not listening.
Yeah. But it's just really funny how, like, if anybody wanted to do like a parody of this movie, the first thing you would do is the second that he smacks her behind, like the next thing is him in HR getting a talking to.
Or you could go the opposite, but I'm not going there.
No, I didn't. No. My next note though is this kind of gets into what you're saying about this being sci-fi. Is this is a legit note? Again, it had been a long time since I've seen any G.I. Joe, but here's my question to you: does G.I. Joe take place on Earth?
Yes.
Okay. If you just watch this, if you don't see any other G.I. Joe and you just watch this, I guarantee you I'm not the only one asking this question.
No, I think Jacoby asked the same question, kind of.
Yeah.
Because it does get confusing when it comes to this part, but G.I. Joe is Earth. Like, this is America right here.
Yeah. And my next note again is I really hate Falcon. I put that.
It's funny because they don't work with, like, I think there's a couple episodes where they're like, hey, this world leader over here, but they don't acknowledge Russia until the next like thing of G.I. Joe, which came out in I think late 80s, early 90s, where Cobra Commander got a whole new look.
Yeah. This now what you said to me earlier about this being a made for TV thing makes way more sense to me as I'm watching this, because I didn't know that going in. And my first, because I have a note here, was like this would probably work better as like a 3-part episode for me, which is what you're saying makes sense to me because it's a made for TV movie.
I guess it was 5-part. Yeah, it would have to be 5 parts.
Yeah.
Don't worry about commercials.
Right. Yeah. So that makes sense. But the gist of it that happens here is you get to find out that quote unquote blonde lady wasn't who she says she was. She was actually a Cobra, and she got all the information she needed from when Falcon was showing her around.
She was a subgroup of Cobra.
Yes. But just as they can go in and take back, break out their snake guy, break him out and get him out of there because of what Falcon had done.
His name is Serpentor, and you put some respect on his name.
I want to. I can't remember it though.
That's the problem with me. I remember this.
It's not from wanting to disrespect said snake guy. I just can't remember that name. It's his fault that they're able to get in there and to get him out, basically, and he gets all the blame. And of course, he's going to get court-martialed. By the way, as he should.
But to go back to that scene where they're breaking him out, that was kind of awesome because as he's like explaining to somebody about how they got to get through each one,
they're getting through those things.
Cobra is getting through each one.
Oh, because not only is it Falcon's fault they know how to, but Falcon's put on guard duty and he's not doing guard duty.
No, he got a camera. He got put on the cameras, and Bazooka and all of them are down there. And they actually got to like sit there and watch this broadcast energy transmitter. But Falcon is in trouble and all he's got to do is watch cameras? No, it should be the other way around.
Yeah, so I get what you're saying. Maybe it's not totally Falcon's fault, but he's definitely has a share to blame with that on top of what he just got in trouble for. Right?
Yeah.
So court martial is not out of the question for me. Like it makes sense that he's on court martial.
Yeah. And I love it how he's
but then Duke basically comes in and saves his career, right? Says, hey, I know underneath there's a good Joe basically, and he goes, just let So he's still gonna get punished, but Duke saves his career. By the way, saves it. And then how does Falcon thank him? He blesses his heart.
Pretty much. He's like, why would you do that? Don't do that. And then Falcon gets sent to the slaughterhouse.
That's right. That's right. So he has to get on a helicopter, and they literally just push him out of it. And he almost dies, by the way.
Yes.
In this part.
And he has to go to the slaughterhouse, which
Which of course is Sergeant Slaughter, but he has was it like 3 or 4 other guys that are with him? It's like 3, I think, right?
Yep. Sergeant Slaughter and his renegades, consisting of an ex-Viper mercenary, former football player Red Dog, and former acrobat Taurus.
Who's the guy who just randomly spits on a scorpion?
I think that's the Viper mercenary.
That just made me laugh.
Mercer.
He just randomly spits on a scorpion.
I think that's him, because that was the other thing too that I noticed in this is like before as a kid it for some reason it made sense. So he meets like the ex Cobra Trooper.
Yeah.
And he has the Cobra symbol, but it's clearly like crossed out. And he's like, Cobra, and he's like gonna fight him. It's clearly crossed out, Falcon.
Yeah. Yeah. It's obvious that he's saying no to Cobra.
I'm gonna go on record and say Falcon is supposed to be like the hot rod. Like compare Hot Rod to this, and Falcon falls short of Hot Rod in every aspect. Even
I 1,000,000% agree.
Got Optimus Prime killed, but that's
right. But there's immense guilt there.
Other one,
Hot Rod is way more likable though, even from the beginning than Falcon is.
He's much more humble, where Falcon is not humble.
Not at all, not in the least. Yeah. All right. So then it kind of cuts back, and we get to see Cobra Commander's on trial yet again.
Always on trial.
He's always on trial. And his punishment, because he's found guilty, his punishment is they turn him into a snake, basically. He becomes a cobra. He literally becomes a cobra. And this is when they're going to throw him back in the jail where they have the previous G.I. Joes have been captured, including Snowjob. And they make a break during that point, right? And Cobra Commander kind of helps. Who's the guy who rhymes that he helps? Who rhymes a lot? What's his name?
Oh, Roadblock.
Yeah, and they kind of become a really fun. Like I wouldn't mind seeing more of that tandem of him and Cobra Commander. Like they were kind of fun together in a way.
They were, because Roadblock gets blinded.
Right. Yeah.
Cobra Commander saves them from a trap because they like let the Joes out or something, and then they get thrown into that trap.
Yeah, it's like these vines that will take you and capture you, and you can't get out of them.
And heads up for Quick Kick for being in the Himalayas without any shirt and shoes, man. That's pretty huge.
Yes.
I did see that. But yeah, so Roadblock gets blinded and Cobra Commander's his eyes. And I love it where he's like, I'll tell you where to go. And all he does, his first command is not like go straight, go left, go right.
He just says run.
Run.
Like, yes.
I was like, wait a minute, where is he running to?
Yeah, okay.
Just run, I guess. That's an interesting dynamic that I think it reminds me of Enemy Mines in a way where you kind of have to trust your enemy in a survival situation. It was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think so too. Like I really liked that where they really had to end up relying on each other despite them being on obviously very opposite sides of things.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy that. That's probably one of my favorite parts of this movie is just those two having to do that and the whole Cobra Commander thing. Because I have another question about him later on.
Okay.
But he's basically slowly turning into a snake. But then it cuts back to Falcon is finally starting to show some promise, and that's when Sergeant Slaughter gets the news that, hey, we need you to go in and infiltrate and find out what Cobra's up to. And Falcon gets the idea right off the bat. He goes, we shouldn't take any weapons to make us more of a challenge. And my note was, what an idiot.
But it is Sergeant Slaughter and the Renegade, so they're kind of like a little
That's stupid.
crazy special force. But you can, if you're taking, they go to they go to the Terradrome, and a lot of drones in cartoons, not a
Yeah.
lot of domes. And they get in there, but you figure you could grab some Cobra weapons and go to town.
That's what's funny. Here's my notes exactly verbatim. Well, this happens in a span of 5 minutes. Let's take no weapons. Falcon is an idiot. And then my next note is they immediately get weapons, and also, just so you know, bombs are weapons.
Anything's a weapon.
Yeah, but it says take no weapons, and they've had bombs on them the whole time.
Well, that's like that Chuckles guy, and he's like, "Hey, you got to run a beat on those Cobra hisses and destroy them." And all that Chuckles guy does is run through the fire of the Cobra tank and whips a missile at it.
Yeah. But this basically kind of leads to the big fight at the end. Is this the big battle? And this is when we kind of cut back to the new recruits, right? And they're told, "Hey, we need you to stay here." But they find out that they kind of find out the whole thing of what Cobra's wanting to do, right? That you said they're wanting to release these spores all over the earth.
Mhm.
And so they know that the Joes are in a lot of trouble, and they're the only ones who know this. So, of course, all the vehicles are taken except for a helicopter. And they're two things about this helicopter.
Why are the blades bent?
Well, not only that, but they don't start. And they make that one poor guy get up there and actually physically start the blades, and it just stays there.
So the other funny thing is when they crash.
Yeah. They should be dead, by the way. That crash should literally kill all of them, especially that guy who's not even inside the helicopter.
Jacoby
should be dead.
Jacoby is kind of not like a laughing horrified in a way, like, what is going on here? He's like, that poor dog. They're all strapped in, and that dog just
yes.
He was like, is the dog dead? The dog does not die.
Oh, and by the way, here's the thing I was going to say that Jinx says, because I rewound this 4 times. Maybe I'm just hearing what I want to hear. But but she goes the first, because she's the one who's trying to hotwire the helicopter.
Yeah.
And she goes, the first person to mention me being bad luck gets a knuckle massage.
Yeah, no, I got that.
Knuckle massage. By the way, if she's giving it, sign me up.
Maybe that's for Falcon.
Yeah, maybe at least at the snow job. Who knows?
The new team, Jinx, Snow Job, and Beachhead.
I'd watch that. And I probably can look it up on certain websites and find it.
But also in this fight, something horrifying happens.
That's right. Falcon is fighting. What's his name? Say it for me.
Serpentor.
And he's about to get killed when Duke runs in and basically takes that terrible blow.
Yeah.
For his half brother.
Not a terrible blow.
Yes, terrible blow. And so all the Joes are surrounding Duke, their fallen leader. And honestly, it looks like he's dying the way they set this up. You literally think he's dying.
Because he was supposed to. They were gonna discontinue.
Is that the original thing?
Okay, so this falls into kind of like that Transformers movie thing. Duke was supposed to die. But they were like, ugh, we made a huge mistake killing off Optimus Prime. Even though you couldn't buy a Duke after a certain point, they were like, we're not going to kill him off. That's why you hear Scarlet go, oh, he's in a coma. Like, she just knows he's in a coma, even though he's in there.
Yeah. They don't do any, by the way, they don't have any sort of doctor really look at him or any of that kind of stuff. They just know he's in a coma. But it's like,
first aid doesn't come by, Doc doesn't come by. Scarlet, Dr. Scarlet is like, he's in a coma.
But one of my other favorite parts of this movie is where his last words, and you think there's his last words because you don't hear the coma part until after this, where he goes, "Yo, Joe," and it's very dramatic, very, very dramatic. And then she goes, "He's in a coma," and then the other guy, who's the one who's in charge, the big wig guy, he's there,
General Hawk.
He turns around with tears in his eyes and goes, "Yo, Joe." Absolutely loved how dramatic and over the top that was. That was so great. If I hadn't just heard about a knuckle massage right before that, I would have been really affected by that. But
I wasn't
I was,
affected by Duke like I was Optimus Prime.
oh, me neither. I have way more of a connection to Optimus Prime, but still, for G.I. Joe lore, that's big time, right? That's a major thing. But this is basically when this movie turns into like an animated Starship Troopers.
Yeah, with the bugs.
Yeah.
I love it when he's like, "You got to shoot him in the belly."
yes.
Yeah, that was a little. I don't know. I found like that whole thing was like a little ridiculous. Like kind of like you
Yeah.
said, it was like the Starship Troopers. Like they're giant worms. You couldn't attack the humans at any other point.
Right. Yeah.
With
It's a
your
lot of
time.
fun action. Don't get me wrong, but
It's
but then like your main three bad guys ended up fighting your main three good guys, which is what you want. You don't want it to boil down to that.
Mhm.
But my absolute favorite part of this is the Earth is cracking apart, and Falcon is on one side of this giant chasm that he can't get across, and on the other side, of course, is Jinx and a certain Sergeant Slaughter. So they got to think quick. How are we going to save Falcon? And I know I got a great idea. Here, Jinx, I'm going to grab you and swing you around. And then as you're swinging, hey, Falcon, grab her feet.
That's all you gotta do.
It's
I don't see a
it's
problem
the
with
greatest, stupidest way to save something I've ever seen in a cartoon. Absolutely loved it.
Because during this the last fight in Cobra La, they just sent up the spores to space, got the BET going. So they're about to uh explode the spores over Earth. So it's
Yeah.
a race of time. And I love their time it wasn't any type of worm, it was a time worm. Once the time worm
Yeah.
reaches the end of the stick.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Do you have a time worm in your house? I got like kind of
Probably.
once it reaches the end of the stick, the spores will explode.
Explode.
And Earth will return back to Cobra La state.
So basically, Falcon uses the BET machine and overloads it, and it destroys the spores. Basically,
Yes.
is the gist of that. Now during this fight, let's go ahead and get in this part because we're getting down to the end here.
Mhm.
You're the bad guy that you brought up,
Nemesis
And-
Enforcer.
Nemesis Enforcer, fights my favorite Joe, Sergeant Slaughter. Now they'd previously had a encounter before, which wasn't really that much of a fight, right? Like they didn't even really hurt each other. Something happens, and the enforcer had to go save the snake guy. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on these names.
Serpentor.
Yeah, and
When you
so they actually have a real fight here. There's a real fight here, and don't get me wrong, I'm very happy about this because I'm a Sergeant Slaughter guy. Sergeant Slaughter destroys him and throws him into a chasm and defeats him.
He does, but I think that's what you kind of had to do because
Oh no, I get. Trust me, I understand. I get it.
they kind of got
But
away from the science fiction thing after this.
yes, but I'm going to go ahead and answer your question about what I think. Could he defeat the Raptor? I really try to look at this question without being biased,
Come
which
on,
is very difficult for me based on what I saw yesterday of this guy. Because while he is very cool, don't get me wrong, he's very cool. He's very strong. He can fly. He's got like what are those things on his arms? Those claw-like things. Those
yeah,
sharp.
kind of like a talent or something like that.
Yeah, they seem to be pretty much like Wolverine's type of claws, sort of, where they can kind of go through anything, really. So he looks cool. Don't get me wrong. He looks really cool. He's got a really nice power set. But in the gist of things, he's like a really powerful gopher boy in a way. Like, hey, go do this, go do that for me. I'm trying to think of who he reminded me of in X-Men. What was that guy's name? He was part of the Sheer Empire, was it Galactus? No, not Galactus.
Gladiator.
Gladiator, thank you. Yes. That's who he reminded me of. Yeah, in a way. I'm not taking anything away from him. If he's fighting just one raptor, he probably does win. But I'm going to just say that I think multiple raptors would take him down because Sergeant Slaughter, who is just a guy who's worked out a lot.
Yeah, but in defense though, Sergeant Slaughter is because he is pretty strong because he did beat the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, it's fair. No, you're right. You know what? That's fair. That is fair.
Okay.
And
I'm just saying.
I'm Team Slaughter, so you're not gonna.
Yes. There was Iraqi sympathizer, Sergeant Slaughter, that beat.
Yes. I don't talk about that one. That one doesn't exist to me. But I will say I understand why you think he's so cool. I do think if I'd grown up with more nostalgia for this movie, I would have felt the same way. But he's fine, and I am glad that he lost though. In this movie, it's a good guys win as they should. But here's my question: so you kind of know what happens after this movie, right? In GI Joe.
Yeah, pretty much. Like a little.
Does Cobra Commander stay a snake? Because he never.
No, he comes back in like this weird uniform. Like he's got like this helmet on, but it's a lot more. It's not. I don't even know how to put it. It's a little bit.
When you say in cartoons, Cobra Commander's helmet, his face mask is iconic, really.
Yeah, they get rid of that. Like the new one, I never had the original Cobra Commander growing up. I always had, I think it was like the 1990 something, 92 maybe version. I'm trying to find it because I remember they came out with here, I'm preparing myself for a joke. They came out with the 10-inch ones.
Mm-hmm.
And and that was and they
sponsors Blue Chew. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just saying because even in this movie,
I'm trying to find a picture of him.
Because even in this movie, when his mask falls off, like my jaw kind of dropped a little bit. Like, oh my gosh, we're going to see his face.
You never.
Right? You don't really though. You see, because he's already starting to turn into a snake by then.
Okay, so this is.
Yeah, send me the picture if you don't mind.
Let me try and find a good one. So here it is. So this is the picture of the new Cobra Commander when they kind of, I wouldn't say they rebooted it in a way, but there was like way different newer things in this is 1989.
Okay.
Let me get this going for you. I gotta log into like Messenger and everything. But yeah, he gets like this weird snorkel type thing. It stays a little bit more with the crazier weaponry, and there's new people in Cobra. Like there's this one guy, he shoots rocket launchers. Why did I send you? How did that happen?
You sent me the link to our own podcast. This nostalgia.
You know why?
This sounds
That's
good.
the last thing I copied. I didn't go into downloads because I downloaded it. I didn't copy it. Okay, there's what Cobra Commander.
Oh, I don't like that design.
It's not a very good one. I think they realized that it's kind of dying after this point.
Yeah,
because you got to figure Transformers kind of was going out of style at this point. And so this is where they bring in like a little bit more of like robot troopers at one point.
Yeah, it looks way more
they go
sci-fi too to me, that suit.
Destro has gold. He has a gold head.
Well, so he ranked up.
Yeah, and it's the same, but it's a very different GI Joe as well. Like it just reintroduces all new characters. So this is kind of definitely the end of an era. But yeah. Cobra Commander does come back, even though he does help Roadblock at one point win a fight, but he goes back and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna just go back to Cobra."
All right. Well, that's the movie. Andrew, out of all these movies, just based on this movie, not based on any other G.I. Joe stuff, which character would you want to be?
Oh, that's a good question. I wouldn't want to be Snow Job. We got to pick a Joe and Cobra or just one?
That's up to you. That's up to you.
So if I'm going to pick a Cobra, I want to be Nemesis Enforcer.
Oh yeah.
If I want to be a Joe, I always like Beachhead.
I mean, who doesn't like Beachhead? Yeah. Uh, the character I want to be, of course, is, I mean, it's very obvious. It's Snow Job.
And I feel for Beachhead, like I said, because as a person that used to have to train people for jobs,
Yeah.
you
It's an
always
annoying job.
it's a very annoying job,
Yeah.
especially when you're like, this is how you're going to do it, and they kind of go off beat, and then after a while, you're like, well, as long as you get it done, and I don't get it.
Yeah. And speaking of jobs, I would obviously want to be Snow Job. And just think of all the benefits from being Snow Job. First of all, there's only certain missions you're going to get sent on because you're only good for certain ones.
Yeah, unless it's in the snow.
Yeah. So, I already know, like, I want to have a lot of a lot of me time. I'm going to have a lot of me time for the snow jobs. So that's what I'm looking forward to. If I had to pick a Cobra, I have a soft spot for Cobra Commander in this. Just because,
apart.
yeah. So he really gets humbled majorly in this movie.
But then he comes back to being a bad guy.
Yeah. But that's going to be mine. All right. So here's the big question before we give our scores for this.
Oh, I wanted to tell you one other thing. So
okay, go ahead.
It's not the original script for G.I. Joe the movie.
Oh, really?
So it was completely rewritten by a guy, I believe, Buzz Dixon. And the only thing he kept in from the original script was Nemesis Enforcer.
Yeah, because he's going to sell, because he looks cool, and I think he would sell toys.
Oh, I had a Nemesis Enforcer toy.
Yeah, I get that. 100% understand that.
Okay, but that was pretty much what I wanted to just state. We kind of went over through all the other stuff about how Hasbro did horrible in the movie theater, so they were like, we're just going to keep this, and Duke should have died, but didn't die because Optimus Prime died for all the other toys.
You can tell, though, that he was originally supposed to die if you watch it, because you don't really see him again after that.
No, and then
there's just a throwaway line that he's getting better.
I guess there was supposed to be a funeral, and then, like you said, they mentioned it's just like blank scenery after the battle, and they're like, hey, Duke came out of his coma.
But how much more weight would this movie have if they'd actually had the guts to do that?
How could you? I guess people were writing in about what's his face dying, Optimus Prime.
What's his face? That robot down the hall.
Because I was trying to figure out, like, I don't remember Duke in any of the other ones. Like, I remember him in the 80, 89 versions.
Yeah. So. All right. So before we give our scores, that kid down the hall watched this too, and he gave you a score. I'm very curious what he said.
He gave us very Dave Portnier one slice score. He went a little bit outside of the box. He gave it a 4.8
out of 5.
Out of 5. So 4.8 Yo-Joes out of 5 Yo-Joes.
Wow, I was really curious about that. How there's a lot of action in this, so that probably helps a lot. I would think there's a lot of really neat, interesting characters, and that's kind of what you need as a kid, right?
Yeah. He's also a very old soul when it comes to things. Like,
well, look who his dad is.
Yeah, he sits there and watches "Give Me a Break" with me, and he is the only 12-year-old boy that I know in this time period that can sit down and watch a John Wayne movie. And
okay, yeah, he's winning points with me. He was already my favorite kid in the first place.
He watched all of True Grit. Didn't do anything. Didn't like. I mean, you gotta get up and get a snack, probably.
Oh yeah.
But other than that, didn't like wander off or say, "Hey, turn this off." Why does this look like? Why does it? Well, to crap to them because the time period it was made in. But
yeah,
he was very.
That's really cool. Let me give my score first because I want you to have the last word on this.
Okay.
All right. I think there were times at this that you could tell it was that it should have been episodes, because there are times when there's not action, and there's more action than not, but there are times when there's not action, like the training. I'm just thinking of the training sequence, for example, where it kind of does drag a little bit.
Yeah.
And I did tune out for a minute where I had to rewind because I missed stuff because I was watching the training thing and I just kind of tuned it out. But when the action actually hits, it's really, really fun. It's a literal blast. Just watching these two sides fight each other, blowing stuff up. It gets really weird with the creatures and sci-fi stuff because I wasn't expecting that in a G.I. Joe thing. And I know there's a lot of parts that I really liked in this that are very funny to me that I'll go back and just think of immediately like a knuckle massage. But that opening theme, I'm not even kidding, is a real highlight of all the stuff we've done this year. That might be one of my absolute favorite things that I've ever got to experience. I'd forgotten how great this theme is. It is incredible. Go
Oh,
out of your way to at the very least, listen to this theme. It's crazy good. The theme itself was a 10 out of 10 for me, or a 5 out of 5 Yo-Joes. The whole thing together, I'm going to give this. I really enjoyed it. I liked it more than I thought I would. I'll go ahead and say that too. I was expecting for this to come in and this be like my version of Mac and Me in a way, but it's not that. I really, really enjoyed this. I still like the Transformers movie better, but I am more of a Transformers guy in the first place. But I'll give this. I think this deserves a 3.5 out of 5 Yo-Joes. I really, really like this a lot. I would not be against watching this again later on. And I'm not even kidding. I'm going to be listening to that theme again and again and again. Absolutely adored that theme. What about you?
Pumps you up. I
It's
love
great.
this. The theme always stands out. That's always the first thing I think of whenever I think of G.I. Joe the movie. The slaughterhouse was always cool to see Sergeant Slaughter in his little, and even with his little tank as he goes into battle. The whole story with Falcon is kind of like it was fun, especially now as you're an adult. Like as a kid, you were like, "Oh, you're a complete mess up. Oh, I don't like this guy." And then, but as an adult, you kind of just like laugh as we did throughout everything, where you're like, "Wow, you are super, super crappy." Uh, like I said before, this is the second movie that I bought behind Transformers, the movie, when it came to animation toy properties. I love this. I mean, I watch it. I would have to say once a year because it's like a good Fourth of July, Veterans Day type movies. I
I can see that.
can't really deal with too many war movies, but I can deal with GI Joe the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, still love it as a kid. I loved it as a kid. Still love it as an adult. It's a 4.5 Yo Joe's on mine because Transformers movie is a 5, but this it has its flaws, like you said. It drags. It it seems like it kind of forces the new trainees on you in a way where
It does.
all of a sudden Transformers the movies, they're like, these people always existed. These
Yeah,
Autobots,
but you
these
also got to think of it
Decepticons always existed.
as an adult. We can look back at that and say, well, they're wanting to bring in new toys. Is what you
Yeah.
think immediately. But as a kid, I'd just be like, who are these new guys?
Yeah. I couldn't tell you any other name. I think I had Law. That was the only new guy that I had,
Yeah,
but
but not his
but
dog.
oh, he came with order.
Oh, he better come with the
You
order.
know,
He's got to.
Law is always with order.
Yeah.
That was the only one that we had, but uh j- so just seeing the other new science fiction thing was kind of cool, even though they never did go back to the whole Cobra Law thing. Was cool because Globius was a really cool toy because his tail bent and everything, and now
Oh
like
yeah.
Nemesis Enforcer. But this always stands out in my mind as one of like the great animation toy property movies that I've ever seen. And
Well, I will say, even between the three of us, counting your son, that the 1987 GI Joe the movie is Nostalgia Funhouse approved.
I would have to say so.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. This was a great fun time, and
Yeah.
it's only an hour and a half. Doesn't overstay its welcome.
No, you know us.
Yep, that's a godsend for me and you. So, but that's
Only,
it. We've done it.
only Blue Chew lasts longer than the movies that we watch.
That's right. Yeah, Blue Chew. Make sure you get your hands on some Blue Chew, and you'll have yourself a great old snow job. Now, that's if you're enjoying this show, make sure you check us out wherever you get your podcast. Check out all the social medias where Andrew does an incredible job of running that, from the Facebook group to the Instagram. Join those. We have a growing community there, especially on Facebook. So make sure you go there and check that out.
Mhm.
We got a lot of fun coming up. Also, real quick, when this comes out, I think Thanksgiving will already happened. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we hope you had a safe and happy, awesome Thanksgiving. Um, make sure you check out the YouTube channel as well. We're doing some fun stuff over there.
Yeah, we just started top 5. I did top 5 discontinued snack foods, And we got a sponsor that doesn't know that they're a sponsor until I record with them, and then I'm just gonna tell them that they're my sponsor. And that's Eat Sleep List, because I feel weird making a list with not including them because they do a really great job on lists.
Yeah. So make sure you check them out too.
Yep.
But yeah, that's it. Good. I do recommend this movie. You can find it on YouTube. The whole thing's on YouTube. Go check it out. We got a lot of fun coming up as the holiday month just approaches us quickly here.
Oh yeah, we got a lot.
A lot of fun stuff coming. So.
I think Johnny, next episode, check it out because I put a little twist on Johnny's idea, and I think it's going to be painful for him. I think
we're gonna find out how I do.
Because he has to blind rank, so not tier where you're like, okay, well you can multiple S tiers. No, he has to blind rank pop culture Santa Claus. And I picked the 10. He has no idea who I picked. This is going to be amazing because he is going to have sleepless nights. I have a feeling.
Yeah. And which is really bad because Santa Claus knows when I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
Well, he knows when I'm awake. Yeah. So
you better be
just FYI. FYI, the Santa Claus on Rudolph is a complete a-hole. But
well, I guess with that being said, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
Yo, Joe.